tale as old as time, song as old as rhyme, Beauty and the
Bitch.
Hi, it's me, Claire, and this is going to be the final video about Friday Night Funkin' on my channel. And yes, when I say final, I mean final. I'm not talking about this goddamn game anymore, okay? Okay, anyway. Today's topic is going to be a little embarrassing for me. I bet you like seeing me embarrassed. Oh, sorry, my demons. Anyway, with that out of the way, this topic is going to be rather embarrassing to look back on. But to complete the trilogy of Friday Night Funkin' related videos on this channel, I decided it would be nice to not end it on such a sour note as the previous two videos were. As you know, the two previous videos were very negative topics, and for this one I decided to shift to a more, positive tone, something I could laugh at myself over. With pain, but something I could laugh about. It'd be nice to look over these fan fictions because if I could give Friday Night Funkin' credit for anything, despite the hell that it put me through, I can give it credit for bringing me back into writing, which I hadn't done since my Vocaloid fan fictions, which I may or may not make a video on, as those fan fictions are absolutely ancient. The quarantine days. Anyway, those fan fictions are for another topic, as I will be talking about strictly my Friday Night Funkin' fan fictions in this video. I'll be dividing it into 3 parts. The first part will be about my 2 full-length fan fictions, which I am best well known for. And the second part will be about my one-shots. And the third part will be about the mini-series that I despise remembering. Of course, all of these fan fictions are deleted now, for very obvious reasons. And for less obvious reasons I'll be discussing in those sections, some more unique than others. So without further ado, let's look back into Claire's personal hell, my Friday Night Funkin' fanfictions. The first fanfiction I'm going to talk about here is by far my most well-known one from my Friday Night Funkin' era, aka Beauty and the Bomb. This is going to be a toughie. I have very mixed memories about this fanfiction, and when I say very, I mean very, very, very mixed. So basically, as you could probably assume from the title, it was basically a Beauty and the Beast but Friday Night Funkin' version story. The story followed Carol and Whitty, and it was basically Beauty and the Beast but with those two. It basically started off with me getting an idea to do a Beauty and the Beast Friday Night Funkin' AU and me thinking about the characters, and then I saw that one Carol and Whitty date mod and I was like, you know what if I make that a fan fiction? Haha. I don't know what I was thinking at the time. To sum it up, it was basically what you'd expect. Whitty and Carol were the Beast and Belle, Senpai was Gaston, etc., etc. At the time, I was really proud of it. I spent over 2 weeks working on it endlessly. I managed to finish the entire fanfiction over 2 weeks, and it left me with writer's wrists that lasted for about 3 to 4 days. No, I'm not kidding. That's a thing. And I found out the hard way. But looking back on it now, keep in mind I was about 16 years old when I wrote this fanfiction. It was so bad. I made everything even lighter and fluffier than the original, and it was just downright cheesy after cheesy. It's enough to kill a lactose intolerant. No offense to my lactose intolerant viewers. It was such a bad fan fiction, and I cringe looking back on it. I don't know why I was so proud of this fan fiction. Maybe it's because of the views it got, the kudos. I don't know, but it was a mistake. Don't get me wrong, Beauty and the Beast is still my favorite Disney movie to this date. But with this fan fiction, I have to admit I have some emotional baggage with the film, considering it makes me remember this, as well as the fact that, let's just say that Carol's creator does not like me. I removed this fan fiction both due to the drama, due to Carol's creator not liking me, and due to the fact that Whitty's creator asked to not associate him with Friday Night Funkin' anymore. So that was simple enough. Now let's talk about The Doll and the Demon King. This was my other full-length fanfiction and my last full-length fanfiction for the Friday Night Funkin' community. This was a Nutcracker parody, which starred Senpai and Monica in the leading roles. Did I mention I used to ship them? Now you know. I hate old me so much. Basically what happened was Monica was an orphan who was adopted by BF's family. And in this family, she stayed with him and his countless siblings. Yes, I inserted the BF's family into that whole thing. It was pretty stupid, I'm going to admit. He ends up getting kidnapped by Daddy Dearest, and she and Senpai have to go out and save him. But Senpai is a massive douchebag, so she basically has to put up with his assholery while meeting new people along the way, some being mod characters, some being self-inserts, some being OCs. By the way, all the people in the Friday Night Fun community I knew back then, they all hate me now. Yeah, so it's pretty obvious why this one got taken down. Both due to the drama and the fact that it contained a lot of characters that the creators are not okay with using anymore, and the fact that I am not on good terms with any of the people whose OCs were in that story. Before we get into that stuff, let's move on, okay? Okay. These one-shots, how do I put them?
Hey, I'm lesbian.
I thought you were American.
Yeah, that. So basically, I wrote almost strictly Girl X Girl back then. I wrote the occasional Girl X Boy, but I was going through a sexuality crisis at the time. I was very closeted. I wanted to convince myself I was heterosexual, but I wasn't, spoiler alert. As you all know, I'm bisexual, and at the time, I was thinking that I might be a lesbian. Spoiler alert, I'm not that either. I'm happily bisexual now, but it was really on my mind back then, and I wrote those to try to cope with it. I wrote a lot of female BF x GF, which I shipped heavily at the time. I remember writing a lot of wholesome one-shots with them. There was one where GF was comforting FemBF after she was having a very rough time with herself. There was another one where they were playing in the snow together. And there was another one where FemBF got her period and GF had to help her with her cramps. Yeah, that last one probably caught you off guard. Yes, that was the one I got canceled over. Yes, that's an entirely different story that I'm not going to get into in this video. But anyway, I also wrote a lot about female Senpai X Monica. Yes, I shipped Senpai X Monica, like I said before. I don't like to think about it. Stop reminding me of it. Anyway, I wrote a lot of angst stuff with them. There was one where female Senpai had to get out of her abusive home with her bad mother. There was also another one where she was lonely, so Monica came for her. My one-shots back then ranged from extremely wholesome to extremely angsty. Now most of my writing is just extremely Anyway, that was the other section of my work. I mostly wrote one-shots, and my only 2 fan fictions that were full-length have since been deleted, along with the rest of these one-shots, mostly because of wanting to disconnect myself from Friday Night Funkin' as a whole, and due to the fact that one of them, the one I mentioned earlier, was quite controversial. Why was it controversial, you might ask? To put a long story short, people accused me of fetishizing trans men for it, which I don't get. There was no sexual content in that story, and I did not intend for it to be taken in any way but as a wholesome cheer-up fanfiction, as well as the fact that BF was not even a trans man in that. She was a cis femme. But anyway, so is the Friday Night Funkin' fandom, and I would rather move on the topic until, this gets rough. Anyway, let's get to the dreaded one. Ooh boy, we saved the best for last, didn't we? No, we saved the worst for a reason. Anyway, let's talk about the 10 short story mini-series that I wrote. It's called The Fempiverse. I'm in hell. Anyway, in this little mini-series, it was inspired by an idea that my friend at the time had given me. We are not friends anymore. Anyhow, she had basically given me the idea of GF bringing senpai into the real world, which is a very commonly explored trope in senpai fics. Yes, I used to read those. No, I don't want to be reminded of that era. In which, because GF is female, for senpai to become a girl too, by accident. I like that idea, as at the time I loved Friday Night Funkin' and senpai. I don't like to remember that. And I love gender bend stories, specifically male to female ones. Female to male ones make me uncomfortable for several reasons. And I decided that I wanted to write this little story. Basically, it followed senpai. She tried to get adjusted to both being a girl and adjusting to the real world. It was mostly fluffy. There were angsty bits here and there. It was basically about senpai slowly having to accept that she was female and accept her new role in life, pretty much. A lot of stuff about identity and self-worth and that kind of stuff. Yeah, you could tell I was struggling with my sexuality and stuff like that back then. Oh, but that is not the worst part. Let me get to the worst part. So, as many of you probably know, I'm a Yuma Joshi. See Hero over there? I love him so much. I'm a self-shipper. I self-ship with several fictional men. But the worst part was one of these fictional men used to be, you guessed it, the blonde man himself. And in this story, my Sona, at the time, of how she looked, pictured on the left right here, this is how she looked at the time, thankfully she has grown since then, ended up with senpai. Yes, it was a Yuri, a self-ship Yuri, with senpai and me. Thinking about it makes me want to tear my hair out now. But yeah, that was the last section of Friday Night Funkin' fanfictions I wrote. And right after cleansing my mind of the horrible memories I just returned, I'm going to come back and talk about my escape from the Friday Night Fun community, my final thoughts, and my conclusion of Friday Night Funkin' on this channel. So, how do all of these deleted fanfictions now hold up? Badly. I can explain very easily why all of them were deleted, as I did in the first two sections. I didn't even need to for the third section because it was extremely obvious why it got deleted. But, as I said, I don't want to end this trilogy about Friday Night Funkin' on an extremely sour note like I did the other two. I want to end this on a slightly more positive note by noting the good things that the community brought me. Trust me, there are very few, but I'm going to address them anyway. As I said, the community got me back into writing. My very first fanfictions were written back in 2014 when I was about 10 years old. I wrote Amazing World of Gumball fanfictions and My Little Pony fanfictions. I got bullied by grown men because my writing was apparently cringe back then, which wasn't fun, so I had taken a break from writing. Later, I started writing again. I wrote some little Vocaloid fanfictions, one full-length and one one-shot. I will possibly be talking about those in another videos if there's any interest, but I wrote these during the quarantine eras when I was like 14 or 15, so they are very old and very badly written, but since I covered this in this video, I'll probably cover those at some point. Emphasis on at some point, as I have many videos planned beforehand. But the thing I can say about Friday Night Funkin' is, after I wrote the Vocaloid fanfictions, I decided to start writing Friday Night Funkin' fanfictions, and I have to say I was very creative with my one-shots and my full-length fanfictions at the time. As bad as they are looking back on them now, I'm proud of the fact that it got me back into writing, and I'm now still writing, of course, in different fandoms, and writing original work, as I've been doing for a very long time. But I am glad that at least it got me back into writing, and Friday Night Funkin' did introduce me to some friends I still have today. While I have almost none of them now, I still have Asher, Mallory, and Trent. Shout out to them. Also Jakey. You guys are all great. And like I said, while Friday Night Funkin' has done mostly nothing but horrible things to my life and mental state, I can at least thank it for getting me back into AO3, which I started writing my fanfictions on after spending years writing fanfictions on Wattpad, which I usually wrote Death Note fanfictions on and Vocaloid fanfictions like I mentioned before. As for Death Note fanfictions, I'm not even going to get into them. I was 12 years old and I was a huge self-shipper with Light Yagami, and It was an embarrassing era. That's all I'm going to say on that. It's not interesting enough for its own video, trust me. But anyway, with that era out of the way, I guess we can say that Friday Night Funkin' has officially lost its funk and I can finally move on. Thank you for watching. As I said, this will be the final Friday Night Funkin' video on my channel, and I hope you will stick around for more videos of a different kind. See you later!